Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into another fascinating story?
Absolutely. Always up for a good deep dive.
Well, get this. Today we're looking at Adriana Rosales, a Latina publisher. But her story, it takes some really interesting
Oh,
turns.
I like where this is going already. What's her story?
So, picture this. She's on a mission, right? Wants to amplify 1 million Latino voices by 2030. Ambitious, right?
That's huge. 1 million voices. Wow. Okay, so how'd she get started on this? What's her background?
Okay, so hold on tight because this is where it gets interesting. We're talking Air Force, Silicon Valley, even a stint at the mayor's office in Puerto Rico.
Wait, we back up. Air Force to Silicon Valley to, what was it, the mayor's office. That's quite a range.
Right. Talk about a diverse resume, and it makes you think, what can we learn from someone who's navigated such different worlds?
It really highlights the importance of adaptability, wouldn't you say? Being open to new possibilities, seizing opportunities where you find them.
Definitely. And that's something I think our listeners, especially the lifelong learners out there, can really appreciate.
Absolutely. And you know what's fascinating? It was actually the pandemic that really pushed Adriana to make a change, to really reevaluate her path.
It's amazing how those kind of disruptive events can sometimes lead us to where we're supposed to be. Now, we can't talk about Adriana without mentioning her military background. It's a huge part of who she is. But it does seem like a far cry from the world of publishing, doesn't it?
You might think so at first glance, but when you really listen to her story, you start to see how the values she learned in the Air Force, things like excellence, service, teamwork, they're all woven into her work as a publisher.
It's about more than just the job itself, isn't it? It's about carrying those values with you no matter where you go.
Exactly. In fact, she actually shared a story about how she was always meticulous about her uniform, always making sure it was absolutely perfect, a testament to her dedication.
I love that. It reminds me of how sometimes movies try to depict military life, but they miss those little details, those nuances that really show what it's like.
It's all about authenticity, isn't it? Making sure the representation is real, genuine. And speaking of representations, that actually reminds me of something else Adriana talked about, her experience at the Smithsonian.
Oh, right. She felt like the exhibit on Latino culture wasn't quite right, didn't accurately reflect the richness and diversity of the experience.
And that desire for genuine representation, for stories to be told by those who lived them, it's a driving force behind her work as a publisher.
So even though those two experiences, the military and the Smithsonian, seem worlds apart, they both kind of fueled her passion for making sure voices are heard, right?
Absolutely. And that commitment to amplifying voices really shines through when we look at Adriana's experience at the John Maxwell Leadership Program.
That was a turning point for her, wouldn't you say?
It really was. Think about it. She's surrounded by these incredible people, international speakers, published authors, and she initially felt so intimidated.
I can only imagine.
Right. And you know what? She even got emotional, teared up before her presentation. Have you ever been in a situation like that where you just feel overwhelmed by the talent around you?
Oh, absolutely. Especially as someone who's always trying to learn and grow. You inevitably find yourself in those situations where you think, can I really do this?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Instead of judgment, Adriana was met with this wave of support. People from all walks of life, they rallied around her, offered encouragement. Some even prayed for her. Can you imagine?
That's incredible. Talk about the power of community.
It really is. And you know what? That experience, that outpouring of support, it seemed to give her the confidence to finally write and publish her own book, a dream she'd had for years.
Like that experience unlocked something within her.
Absolutely. And it didn't stop there. She
Right.
went on to found her own publishing company, creating a platform to lift up other voices.
And not just any voices, but specifically Latino voices, determined to make sure those stories are heard.
Right. She's not just publishing books, she's making a statement.
And she set this audacious goal, 1 million Latinos published by 2030. Now, that sounds incredibly ambitious, but after hearing her story, you kind of get the feeling she might just pull it off.
It's that determination, that drive that's so inspiring. But before we get into the how, I'm curious about the why. What is it that fuels this mission to amplify so many voices? It goes back to representation, doesn't it? making sure the Latino experience is truly reflected in the stories that are being told.
Because for so long, those stories haven't been told authentically, if at all.
Exactly. And it's like when you see a movie or a TV show and they try to depict a culture they clearly don't understand, it just feels off.
It's like they missed the mark completely.
Right. And even if it's not intentional, it's like, come on, do your research. And it's similar to what Adriana experienced at the Smithsonian. Even when there's an attempt at representation, it can still fall short.
It all comes back to authenticity.
Right.
And whose voices are being amplified.
Absolutely. Adriana talks about this idea of being a bridge, navigating both U.S. and Latin American cultures.
And that's such a unique perspective to be able to connect those two worlds.
Definitely. She gets it, you know. But she's also talked about this feeling of not quite belonging to either world completely.
That's got to be tough, feeling caught between two worlds. A lot of people can probably relate to that feeling of not quite fitting in.
It makes you realize how important it is to find your tribe, to find that sense of belonging.
Absolutely. And it seems like Adriana really found that in the military.
It's interesting you say that, you know, because she uses the word comrades when she talks about the authors she works with.
It's like they've been through a shared experience, like they're all on this mission together. And speaking of missions, Adriana has said that she believes traditional publishing houses will eventually come knocking. What makes her so sure?
Well, I mean, the numbers don't lie. The Latino community is a growing economic force.
It's smart business, really.
Exactly. But for Adriana, it feels like it goes beyond just the business side of things. It's about making sure those voices are heard on a larger scale, on their own terms.
Not having to compromise their stories or their perspectives.
That's the heart of it. And she's laying the groundwork now so that when those opportunities do come knocking, they'll be ready.
Which is a powerful message in itself, isn't it? You don't have to wait for permission. You can create your own opportunities. It makes me think about you, always learning and growing, always pushing forward. Do you see any parallels between Adriana's journey and your own?
You know, there is something to be said for just going for it. Every time we step outside our comfort zones, connect with others, share our knowledge, it all adds up. Adriana's story really highlights the power of embracing what makes us unique.
And using it to make a difference in the world? And Adriana is certainly doing that. Let's talk about how she's making it happen through her White Glove publishing program. What's so special about it? And how does it reflect her approach to mentorship and empowerment?
It's funny you should mention White Glove. It's not just about, you know, getting the book out there. It's about really guiding those authors, helping them find their voice.
It's about more than just the technical stuff, then.
Yeah, it's about the why. You know, like, why are you doing this? What's the message, the impact? I remember she said something like, they want to publish because they want to make a difference, change the world. Powerful stuff.
Definitely. But it takes a certain type of person, don't you think, to want to put themselves out there like that?
Oh, for sure. Adriana looks for authors who are passionate, who have something to say.
People who want to start conversations, be part of something bigger.
Exactly. It's a community. It's like we all have our own stories, but together it becomes something more. Have you found that in your own journey, that sense of community?
100%. Surrounding yourself with people who get it, who challenge you. That's invaluable. And it makes me think, what about our listeners? What stories are they holding on to?
Everyone has a story, right? And sometimes all it takes is that little push to share it.
Adriana's story is proof of that. The power of mentorship, of representation, of using your voice to make a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been fantastic exploring Adriana's journey with you. From the Air Force to Silicon Valley and beyond, who knew publishing could be such an adventure?
Truly inspiring, the power of one person to create change, to lift others up.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions.
Yeah.
You never know where those deep dives will lead you.